Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at BT06, and BT06 offers us a lot of new and exciting cards to not only build some new and powerful decks with, but to upgrade and iterate some current and existing decks. And today's deck that I'm going to be taking a look at on upgrading is going to be the Commandramon or D-Brigade deck. Yes, Commandramon and D-Brigade is still a deck that's going strong, just because there's a lot of different things that you could do with it based on the type of meta that you're playing with and the type of deck you want to build out of it. So the core to its package is just exactly as it sounds. You're just going to be playing this Rookie Rush-esque strategy where you're going to be utilizing your Commandramons to aggress, and then once you're in a safe enough position or strong enough position, then you're just going to hard slam Darkdramon to try to finish off the game with a slew of various other abilities to help the deck flow and function. So this version in BT06 is going to be more focused about security control and security abilities, just because, well, we already have such a good low end that there's no reason not to try to make our security as threatening as it possibly can, especially since Black has some really good removal cards to disrupt the opponent's plans. So without further ado, onto the deck profile. I'm going to be running one copy of Missimon as the 5th Digitama of the deck. So this could really be anything you want it to be. Most of the time you're going to be wanting to play Missimon or Tsunamon, just because they're the two best generic Digitamas to try to DP boost our Digimon for being, well, Commandramons. So this interacts with D-Brigades more specifically, so it can work on our higher level D-Brigades, where it has the inheritable during your turn. While this Digimon has D-Brigade in its type, then it gets plus 1000 DP, so it's just a nice easy way to DP boost our Commandramons, so that way they're just going to be a little bit stronger than they normally would be. But as far as the main Digitama of the deck goes, it's going to be 4 copies of Pagumon. So this is the brand new Pagumon in BT06, and this card is absolutely fantastic because we are trying to play with trash-based synergies and on delete-based synergies a little bit. So what this card is doing is it has the nice inheritable ability of on delete, reveal the top card of your deck and add it to your hand if it's a black Digimon, otherwise place it to the bottom. So this is a really strong card for D-Brigades to be playing around with because it's helping with the overall consistency of the deck, because for the most part we are a pseudo Rookie Rush-esque style of deck, and we're not going to be drawing a whole lot outside of our few evolutions, so any way that we have it to add to the overall consistency and try to keep our hand as healthy as possible is always a good thing, and Pagumon accomplishes that goal quite nicely. Next, on to the Digitamas, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Commandramon. So this is the BT03 version of Commandramon, and this is just a, well, Commandramon that we have to run because he's a Commandramon by name, but his stats are pretty decent, him being a value-efficient vanilla card. So him hard playing for 2 and having 3000 DP while evoing for 0 is just still a solid stat line to be playing around with, on top of the fact that he is a Commandramon. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Commandramon. So this is the BT04 version of Commandramon, and this Commandramon is probably the most important out of the entire deck because it has the nice on-delete ability where we get to reveal the top 3 cards of our deck and play 1 Commandramon from among them for free, and then the rest go to the bottom. So this is the card we want to primarily use to aggress with onto the opponent, because when this Commandramon dies, then he essentially has the ability to try to replace himself with a different Commandramon, and all of our other Commandramons are very, very good or very, very powerful for being solid level 3s to be playing around with. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Commandramon. So this is the BT05 version of Commandramon, and we're only really playing this card because, well, he's a Commandramon by name, and we kind of need that. On top of the fact that he is also a level 3 blocker means that we could use him in some very defensive ways to try to help mitigate the opponent's aggression. Even though he doesn't necessarily have the best stats, the fact that we could still play him for free off of our Commandramon is pretty good, and the fact that we could still use him off of our Digitamas and he still synergizes with our Digitamas is also still really good, on top of the fact that for being a blocker, he has no downside to wanting to attack, so even if we want to ignore the fact that he has blocker, he's still just a level 3 that we could aggress with. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Commandramon. So this Commandramon is the Commandramon that comes from the Black starter deck, and this Commandramon is going to be the primary aggression card that we want to use to attack with onto the opponent's security. So what's making this Commandramon so good is the fact that he just has 5000 DP for a level 3, making him a very aggressive card to be using because he just has higher stats. And then on top of Missimon, we can make him 6000, or if you're using Sunamon, then we can make him 7000. So we just have very easy ways to make a level 3 as powerful as we possibly can, thanks to his stat line, and we don't necessarily care about hard playing him for 4 because he's just that powerful of a card, or we could play him potentially for free off of our other Commandramon. So he is just in the deck because he's a very aggressive vanilla card to be playing around with, on top of his Commandramon and D-Brigade synergies. And then the last rookie of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Dracomon. So Dracomon is a really fantastic Digimon for the deck. Even though he is a blue Digimon, we're not necessarily caring about Digivolving into him at all because he just has a very powerful on-play ability that we could take full advantage of for this style of deck. So what this card's doing is he has the on-play ability where we get to reveal the top 3 cards of our deck and add 1 Digimon with Dramon in its name among them into our hand, and the rest go to the bottom. So the fact that we have a really powerful card to dig out whatever cards we're looking for is that important because, well, almost all of our Digimon outside of Dracomon have Dramon in its name, so this could potentially dig out to almost any one of our cards and has a very high success rate, making him one of the best cards to try to keep our hand as healthy as we possibly can for the deck. Next, on to the champions, I'm going to be using 4 copies of Sealsdramon. So yes, he is another Dramon, yes, he is another D-Brigade, and we're really only utilizing this card as the deck's dedicated blocker because, well, he's really not good for much else outside of his D-Brigade synergies and the fact that, well, he is a blocker. Yes, you could think about utilizing him to attack with because he does have 6000 DP, but he does have the downside of losing 2 memory when you attack with him, but that might not be that big of a deal depending on the state of the game. But he's just a good card to fit in the deck because he is another D-Brigade card to synergize with, on top of the fact that if he does end up getting deleted as a blocker for chump blocking, then paired up with Pagumon, he's just going to allow us to trigger our Pagumon's on delete ability to try to dig out the cards that we need, making him just a really good card to be playing with the deck as a whole. And then the last champion of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Coredramon. So Coredramon, like Dracomon, does come from the All-4 starter deck and is another really good card to be playing with the deck for its on-play ability. So not only does it have a really powerful on-play ability of drawing 2 cards, if we need to just hard play it to, well, try to draw 2 cards, we could also Digivolve it on top of Dracomon if we need to do that as well, on top of the fact that it even is a security Digimon, so it's another security threat that the opponent's going to have to deal with, just because when they hit into it, then he's going to be able to play himself for free, allowing us to draw 2 cards, and any way we have to draw cards because we're not Digivolving a whole lot is always a good thing. So Coredramon is just an absolutely fantastic card for this deck as a result, on top of fitting very nicely with the theme that we're trying to make our security as threatening as we possibly can. So I'm not going to be running any level 5s in the deck, and I'm skipping straight up to our level 6s, so as a result, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Darkdramon. So Darkdramon is an absolutely insane card for this deck to be playing with because, well, he's the whole reason why we're playing the deck the way we're playing it. So he just natively has the Rush ability, so when we hard play him, then he gets to attack right away, which is really, really powerful, and what makes us able to hard play him is the fact that he has a nice on-play ability where we get to return up to 5 Digimon with D-Brigade in their type from our trash to the top of our deck in any order, and then for each Digimon we put back this way, we get to gain 2 memory. So with all 5 cards being put back to the top of the deck, we're going to be gaining 10 memory, which basically means that he only costs 3 to hard play, so that's what's making us able to hard play him and swing in the same turn, and that's just really, really powerful for an easy level 6 to set up, because our Commandramons are just going to be suiciding into the opponent's security anyway, so this is a good way to try to push even more aggression onto the opponent and try to close out the game as quickly as you possibly can. And then the last level 6 of the deck is going to be 3 copies of Magnadramon. So Magnadramon, like Darkdramon, is another card we're only playing for its on-play ability, and because of that, we don't necessarily need to run any level 5s, on top of the fact that it is a Dramon by name, like Darkdramon, so Dracomon can help search us our Magnadramons in case we need to. And what we're utilizing its on-play ability for is if we have 3 or fewer cards in our security, then we get to recover 2. So this just allows us to keep our security as healthy as we possibly can, even though we are giving the opponent lots of memory to be able to respond. just the fact that we are playing lots of very powerful security effects could make our security really, really threatening and dangerous. I do have to note there is a little bit of anti-synergy between Magnadramon and Darkdramon, just because Darkdramon will put D-Brigades to the top of our deck, and most of our D-Brigades aren't going to be doing anything in our security, and in fact are actually making our security weaker, so we do have to keep that in mind when we're playing. Magnadramon is evaluating when we should be playing this card. So if you play it before Darkdramon, then it's probably going to be really, really good, but if you're playing it after Darkdramon, then it's probably going to be really, really bad, which is like the catch-22 on why I'm only running 3, because I don't want to see it that often. So it's still a good card to try to keep us in the game, but it does have its own situations where it could be really good or really bad. And then the last Digimon and only level 7 Mega in the deck that I'm going to be running is going to be 4 copies of Omnimon Zwart Defeat. So Omnimon Zwart Defeat is still just an absolutely insane card because of how good this card is. So first thing to know is it is a security Digimon, so when it's checked in our security, we get to play it for free, which is really, really powerful. So having a free level 7 is just super threatening because we could use that level 7 then to just pressure the opponent every single turn thereafter. And then on top of that, he has 2 really powerful abilities of his own. He has a when Digivolving ability that we could utilize by Digivolving him on top of Darkdramon, where we get to delete one of the opponent's tamers, which could be pretty important, especially if they're only running a limited number of tamers and they don't necessarily have the time to play any of their other tamers. So being able to get rid of a tamer could just be really, really strong. And on top of that, he has an on delete ability where we get to delete one of the opponent's Digimon. So the opponent is eventually going to have to deal with our Omnimon Zwart Defeat, and for doing so, they're going to be punished with his on delete ability, deleting one of the opponent's Digimon in kind to him being deleted. So that's just making this card very, very strong, is just all of those abilities on top of the different ways that we have to play him. Next, on to the options, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Ultimate Flare. So Ultimate Flare is a really powerful card because we're using it mostly because of its security ability to activate its main ability, but its main ability could be used to delete Megas and lots of low-level Digimon that the opponent is playing with. So its main ability states that we get a D-Digivolve 3 on one of the opponent's Digimon, so if they are just Digivolved up into a level 6 and they don't have anything on top of that level 6, then this will just D-Digivolve it into a rookie, and then it has a very high chance of deleting that rookie because of the other upside where then you get to delete all of the opponent's Digimon in play with a play cost of 3 or less. Most of the time, the rookies are going to have a play cost of 3 or less, so it's going to be a very easy card to not only get rid of their Mega off the field just from de-Digivolving, but deleting the Digimon outright just because it would be reduced to a rookie. And then in similar fashion, I'm also going to be running 4 copies of Iron Fisted Onslaught because, well, this is just another really big and powerful removal card that Black has to be playing with the very strong security ability of activating its main effect, so it's going to be another security threat that the opponent is going to have to deal with, and on top of that, its main ability allows us to delete all of the opponent's Digimon with the highest play cost. So if they have multiple Digimon on the field with the highest play cost and they're all tied, then it's going to delete all of them, which is really, really good. So if they're spawning a field of the same Mega, then this just deletes all of those Megas. Or even at worst, if they're trying to play this go wide strategy, it could potentially pick off multiple Digimon. So this is still just a very fantastic removal card for Black to be playing around with as a whole, especially in combination of being a security threat along with Ultimate Flare. And then the last card of the deck and only tamer of the deck is going to be 3 copies of Izzy. So I've been going like back and forth on if I want to run 2 copies of Magnadramon and 4 copies of Izzy because Izzy's ability is just that important for what the deck is trying to do. So the big important thing that he's doing is the fact that he is a memory fixing tamer. So if our memory is ever less than 3, he'll just always hard set it to 3. And this is super, super, super important to be able to play our Darkdramons, because we do have to give the opponent 13 memory in order to play Darkdramon to start having him give us memory back. So the fact that Izzy just hard sets us to 3 so that way we could always make that play line is just that important. And then on top of which, his other ability, which is an on-play ability, is also relatively important, where we get to reveal the top 3 cards of our deck, and if all the revealed cards are black, then we get to gain 1 memory and to place the cards on top in any order. So this just allows us to not only fix the top of our deck, but know what's on the top of our deck, so we could know what and how and when to play our cards, which is really important not only just for Magnadramon so we know what to heal, but for our Commandramon so we know if we're going to be hitting a Commandramon, if we're going to be swinging with it. So as a result, this is just a really important card to be running in the deck. And then there's just a whole bunch of other ways that you could build the deck depending on what you want to gain out of the deck and how you exactly want to play the deck. So you also could splash in some other colors to add what the other colors are doing and all of their respective tools. So you could use red to play a little bit more aggressive with some still solid removal abilities to be playing around with. So with the red package, you could think about Omnimon as just a 2-drop 5k, red Digimon to be very aggressive with. Then you also have Agunimon to try to Digivolve on top of our Tamer to basically have our Tamer act as a pseudo raising area, so we could use Agunimon to push even more aggression and try to swing the game with him. Then the best red Tamer that we have to be working with as a splash or support color is going to be the starter deck Taikamiya for that plus 1000 DP boost to all of our Digimon, making all of our Digimon that much more threatening because now they have a higher chance of living through security checks. Then we do just have a slew of different red removal options like Red Reamer, Atomic Blaster, and Gaia Force as all just very strong red removal cards to be playing around with. Then we could also take the deck into a yellow direction, so yellow has lots of really powerful Rookie Rush-esque cards for us to be working with. So similar to Otamon, we have Falcomon for yellow to be playing with. Then on top of that, we have Starmons to act as some even more removal on a yellow body that we could hard play, and if we are using a yellow base, then it does have synergy with wanting to run Magnadramon. Because Magnadramon, we could actually then use its secondary ability to be able to play our rookies even more efficiently. And then one of the more efficient rookies that we could be playing is going to be Postmon because it has some really good utility on drawing us a card and or gaining us a memory. Then as far as the yellow removal cards that we could possibly run in the deck, we could run Spiral Masquerade because like Starmons, it's trying to take advantage of the fact that we could create and keep a very wide board. So Spiral Masquerade will take advantage of that by allowing us to machine gun some of the opponent's Digimon down. And then yellow has its version of Gaia Force in the form of Wyvern's Breath if you just need that big hard removal card. And then black still has some really good cards for us to be running in the deck, like Parabolic Junk, so this card's really good because it can help us gain some additional memory to make even more powerful plays possible. And speaking of gaining some additional memory, we could even consider running Black Memory Boost to try to dig out our black cards, namely the card we want to look for is going to be Darkdramon, but it could help dig out some of our other cards, and the delay ability to gain us 2 memory at a later turn could make some very powerful follow-up plays happen. Then black has its own other removal cards in the form of Gwalt Schwarmer if you do just need to try to reset the field, and if you do know that your field is kind of healthy and you do want to try to trigger some on-delete abilities. You could also utilize this with some purple cards if you really wanted to, so there's just a lot that this card can help synergize with, all depending on what you're trying to gain out of the deck. And then a really good alternative or substitute tamer or complementary tamer to the deck is going to be Izzy and Joe because it's adding some extra card draw for our black Digimon being deleted on the opponent's turn, and it can help fix our memory by gaining us 2 memory for the opponent literally having 2 or more Digimon in play, which complements with our memory fixer, so that way we could start the turn at 5 memory potentially. So there's just a lot that you could do with this simple concept of just trying to be aggressive and utilize your security and your cards to their utmost potential. But for the most part, the Commandramon deck is, well, I guess, changing while staying the same at the same time. No matter what, you're always going to be forced to use all of your Commandramons, Darkdramon, and Sealsdramon, along with potentially a memory fixing tamer to try to make sure you could always play your Darkdramon, and then the rest of the deck is kind of just whatever you feel like you want to be utilizing based on your color of preference and the synergies in place that you're actually trying to use. So as I mentioned before, you could use blue, red, purple, and yellow, just because all of those cards and all of those colors do have synergy with what Commandramon is doing and how you could play Commandramon. So it's just a really fun deck with a ton of customization, and I think it's still just a very strong deck just because it is taking advantage of what Rookie Rush is trying to do with a little bit of extra resilience because your Commandramons have the ability to, well, play more Commandramons. So I think it's going to be a really fun and strong deck, especially with new tech and tools coming in the future to just flesh out all of the different possibilities that this deck has. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and down in the description below are a couple of different ways you could support me and the channel. So I do have a TCG Player affiliate link, so when you use that link to buy cards off of TCG Player, then some of that money will go to supporting me and the channel. I also do make and sell playmats over on Overcard Gamers on Facebook, so when you buy a playmat with my design, then some of that money will also go to help supporting me and the channel. And on top of all of that, I do have a Twitch account over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu, so giving me a follow and a subscription also helps support me there, and I do play Digimon on top of various other games on that platform as well. So thank you everyone for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.